Welcome to Diaspora, the show where we share the remarkable stories of immigrants from the Indian subcontinent. I'm your host, Aditya Mehta. Each week, we sit down with individuals who have made the journey and explore their experiences, their challenges, their triumphs. We delve into their unique perspectives on adapting to a new culture while staying connected to their roots. Today, we are joined by Sam Bhatnagar, an entrepreneur from Vancouver, BC. Originally from Chandigarh in India, he spent 17 years in Kenya before moving to Canada in 2005. Along with his family, he now runs one of the larger financial advisory companies in British Columbia. I know Sam from my early days in Vancouver. We met at a Greater Vancouver Board of Trade event in the North Shore, where he was setting up a new office at the time. So I guess, what a good 7 years ago. And we've been friends ever since. So now let's dive into this week's conversation. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Aditya. Really honored.
Sam was also on the original version of the Diaspora podcast, which we did during COVID. So for our listeners, if Chandigarh was a city in the US or in Canada, what city would you compare it to?
That's a good one. I think I'd compare it to Vancouver, to be honest with you, because it's very organized, very clean, very structured.
Yeah.
And I think it's got a lot of mixture of architecture because it was originally planned as such. So I think I
Yeah.
would very much compare it to Vancouver.
So for more context for our listeners, Chandigarh was India's first planned city.
Right,
It was created so it could be the capital of the states of Haryana and Punjab when Punjab was split up into different states.
right.
So, unlike most cities in India, it's not 1,000 years old. It's got a grid pattern. It's got a famous cricket stadium, Mohali, which has hosted many great cricket matches, and is just generally known for being a very well off and progressive city.
Yes.
I always say Chandigarh is the Boston of Delhi. So like Delhi and Chandigarh have a relationship like New York and Boston do.
Hmm.
Each thinks they're a little bit better than the other. But I like yours as well. So you were born in Chandigarh, and at how old were you when you moved to Kenya?
So I was just 3 months old, Aditya. And yeah, my parents were in Kenya. So after I was born, we moved to Kenya. And then I grew up in Kenya for 17 years. So my education, my schooling until high school was all the way up to in Kenya. And
Yeah.
then in 2005 is when we decided to move as a family to Canada.
What prompted the move to Kenya?
So to Kenya in 1981, it was just, I guess, better economic pastures for my father, right?
Yeah.
He had an opportunity as an economics lecturer to move to Kenya, and he was already a teacher in India at the famous Punjab University, where my grandfather was a professor too. And he had an opportunity to explore this teaching chance out in Kenya. And it's funny
Yeah.
sometimes how life pans out because they didn't even know where Kenya was. Once he got the job letter is when he went into the local university library. And I don't know if you remember those blue globes.
Yeah.
So he turned the blue globe to find where Kenya was on the maps of Africa.
Man.
And that's how he got to Kenya in 1981.
Wow.
Began.
What city did you move to? Nairobi?
No, so he moved to a smaller town in Kenya called Kitale. That's where he began his journey from. And then from there, he moved to another city and town where I grew up, and my brother was born in Kisumu.
Okay.
That's a smaller town from a city now from Nairobi.
Yeah.
And that's where we lived for 17 years of our life.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for our listeners,
Hmm.
East Africa, so Kenya, Tanzania, and I guess Uganda has a very large Indian community
Yeah.
that's been there for generations. It's
Correct.
not new immigrants.
Correct.
Was that community mostly Gujarati, or were there other language groups represented as well?
There's quite a few language groups. As a matter of fact, the word diaspora, they are the also original versions of a diaspora because
Yeah.
think about it, they moved there generations ago. So yes, there's a big mix of communities there that moved from the Indian subcontinent, right? We had Gujaratis, we have a lot of Punjabis in Kenya. There's a lot of Gurdwaras in Africa, as a matter of
Interesting.
fact. And there's a lot of people that are from Goa. They've got a little bit of background from there too. A lot of people moved
Yeah.
from Bombay, Pune, Maharashtra. So I've
Yeah.
had a chance to meet quite a few groups of people from India from different backgrounds, and
Yeah.
it's quite an amazing social circle on that side of the world too.
So these are migrations prompted by trading from
Mhm.
back in the day. because all the language groups you described, they're predominantly western and northwestern part of the country,
Right.
and the Gujaratis, as the Goans, as the Malayalis, have been seafaring cultures.
Correct.
So they've always had trade links with the Middle East, with East Africa.
Right.
And in fact, the East African Gujarati has a separate dialect almost.
Yep.
And when I hear that Gujarati, it sounds like ancient Gujarati because, it's probably 200 or 150 years old,
Right.
and then it stayed intact while Gujarati here evolved with other languages.
Correct.
So when I hear that dialect, I can instantly tell that someone's from East Africa.
Yeah.
And also in Canada, and especially Vancouver and Calgary, there's a lot of people of Indian descent from East Africa.
Correct.
So they're Indian origin, but they've never actually lived in India.
Correct.
Right? And I think that was a move prompted. A lot of them went to the UK. A lot of them went to and came to Canada.
Correct.
Especially the Ismaili community.
Correct.
And I believe their leader, who passed away recently, the Aga Khan, he had a great relationship with Pierre Trudeau.
Correct.
Who's the former prime minister's father.
Correct.
So it's a interesting twist of like history and migration. Because when I came to Canada, I didn't know that there was this big community.
Correct.
I was in this dosa restaurant on Davie Street in Vancouver.
I see.
And I was, minding my own business, and I heard someone speak in Gujarati.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, what's your story?
Right.
I said, oh, yeah, there's a lot of people here who are, East African Gujaratis. There's a very large community. There's a lot of the Jamaat Khanas and all of that.
Yeah, that's a big group that definitely moved to Canada from East Africa. A lot of them got prompted in 1973. At the same time, there's a lot of other communities in East Africa that moved to North America, US and Canada, other prominent Gujaratis, Punjabis, and lots of people. And it's amazing. And you're absolutely right. A lot of them actually, the families that we also know went with the British in the early 1800s. Like my wife's family, they're fourth generation Kenyan family. So their great grandfathers went with the railway building and the nation building, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And that's how it ended up. Yeah.
When you were growing up, were most of the Indian people there business people? And I know teaching has been a common profession for Indians going there.
Yeah.
I think in Nigeria, they're called, the colloquial term is master.
Yeah.
Right? You're in Kenya.
Yeah.
Because there's so many Indians who are teachers. But other than that, were there any professions that Indians really took up, or was it just general business?
To be honest with you, in every industry, I feel like the community is represented at the highest levels because once they're very curious and very open-minded to learning. And second, I think it's just the entrepreneurial spirit as an immigrant that puts you in new pastures. And now you're in an environment where it's kind of like a sink and swim situation. Right. Sure. And that's where I feel like a lot of the families gather the courage to make some decisions and to take some risks, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like they're in every profession, from businesses to education to IT to so many other things out in Kenya. And as a matter of fact, in Kenya, they call them Asians there. The Indians there are called Asians in Africa, especially in Kenya. So they're also now a 44th tribe. They're considered a tribe now in Kenya, which just recently happened. So quite prominent folks out there as well, for sure. That's just our background. That's where we grew up around. Very inspiring people, very good old roll up your sleeves, elbow grease type of guys that went to town when it came to doing things.
You answered my next question, that was the Indian community viewed positively there, or was there a bit of like outsider hostility? But if they're called the 44th tribe, it means that they're considered as integrated.
Definitely.
So then what prompted the move to Canada?
Well, for us in our family, Aditya, my father was in the IT business. He started his business in 1995 in Kenya. And like any other family, you look out for the best for your children. So it's just myself and my brother. As soon as we would finish high school, we would probably travel abroad for further education. And what my father realized is, as we would make that move, very few people actually move back to Kenya or back to Africa to take over the family business or what you have over there. So if we were to go out and build a life out here as the children, then the parents stay back, and that's where we saw a lot of families separate. And that's where he said, you know what, I'd rather go with them. And I'd rather have the family together, kind of like what we've always been. We've been this unit that's operated always together, in tough times and in good times and
Yeah.
all times, as a matter of fact. So that's how we moved here, for better economic future, just better life together. And
Yeah.
I just think he foresaw, I think 30, 40 years from now, if this is going to be the scenario, I might as well make the decision today. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how we decided on to moving into Canada and started our life here.
Right. How hard was the process to move? Because I came, as you know, much later than you did in 2018,
Mhm.
and our PR took surprisingly less time.
Right.
Was there this similar point-based system at that time,
Yeah.
or is there a different system?
It was a point based system. So I believe in this case, my father would be the primary applicant at the time. So being
Yeah.
having his master's degree, my mom having her master's degree helped with the points. So they moved to
Yeah.
Canada as on the point basis too. And
Yeah.
I
It's a
think,
very pragmatic system.
yeah,
Yeah.
it took about a year and a half from what I remember from the
Okay.
application to actually receiving the landing papers.
Got it.
Mhm.
Did you know a lot of people here when you landed, or was it just showed up?
Yeah, it just showed up. It's so interesting. We never even knew where we were coming to. In our mind, we thought we were going to be living in Vancouver. And as soon as we landed here, we actually ended up in where we are currently, in a place called Surrey. And
Yeah.
we knew that as we were driving from the airport all the way to Surrey from Vancouver. So, no, and the person who picked us from the airport, he was actually our accountant and bookkeeper back from Kenya. So
Oh,
he had
wow.
moved just a year earlier than we had.
Got it.
So
Okay.
that's how we figured it out. New land, new pastures, and
Yeah.
here we are, that type of deal.
For a second, I thought that the person who picked you up, and then you realized he was the bookkeeper, but
Yeah.
obviously not. That would have been a great coincidence, right?
Yeah.
I did have such an experience though. I met a person who then I realized that maybe 15 years previously, when I worked for my family business,
Mhm.
I would be on the phone with a client regularly. And he used to sit on the same desk next to this person who I used to speak with.
Okay.
So we were just interacting, and it turns out, oh, it's like your client was so and so. I sit next to him, and I know all about your company. So that was one coincidence that I had in. So what were those first few days like? Because it's a pretty different experience from Kenya.
Definitely. First couple of days, to be honest, from what I remember, is when you breathe air without pollution, it
Yeah,
just feels so different. It just feels so fresh, if that
yeah,
makes sense. And
yeah,
when you can open up a tap and just put water from the tap
yeah,
without having to have it boiled or filtered, that in itself is so, I guess, exciting. At the same time, it's just such a new experience.
yeah,
And obviously, initially, you feel lost, you feel a little bit afraid. But I think that's just the beauty of exploring things. That initial phase will always be like that. And then I
yeah,
think step by step, you don't, I have this thing where I always tell people, when procrastination kicks in for doing anything, you don't
yeah,
have to try to run, or you don't have to stop. You just have to maybe take the first step and then the second step. And
yeah,
that's how I would explain our initial journey as an immigrant in Canada. We just took one step at a time, one day at a time. There were good days, there were bad days, and there were learning days in between.
yeah.
And that's how I would describe it, Aditya.
You were of high school age, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah. Just finished.
So you just finished 12th. So
Mhm, mhm.
did you go to college right away or
I waited.
waited?
I had to do the English and math proficiency equivalencies
Got it.
here to get into university.
Right.
And then immediately I did start with university as well.
And I think your brother is a couple of years younger than you.
Yes, about 4 years. Yeah, four
So
years.
he would have had to go through the high school
He
experience
did
a
go through
little
high
bit.
school. You're correct. Grade 9. That's how he got in.
Got it.
Right.
What was the first job or assignment that your dad had? He
So
landed.
this is something so interesting coming from owning an IT business. And I feel like, because my father is my mentor in life and in business as well, but
Yeah.
he, from having being in a very good position in Kenya to coming to Canada, and he was open for everything. This is something that I
Right.
really appreciate. At age 48, having that type of background and caliber. So his
Yeah.
first position, believe it or not, was in a kitchen cabinet shop. And
Okay.
it was, yeah, a completely different background. And he was in their sales department there, just beginning her journey. And he took up that assignment really well. And then working in a kitchen cabinet shop, his next job was in a call center, right? There used to be a really big call center here on Scott Road. He used to work there. And those were his two initial jobs before he got into business.
I've always enjoyed interacting with him, and he does come across as a very gritty person.
Hmm.
I say this a lot that I think our generation is probably not capable of the kind of sheer hard work and determination that our parents' generation had.
Yeah.
They just went out and did it,
Yeah.
and didn't worry about all these other things
Correct.
that our generation tends to worry
Others'
about.
opinions, all of that.
Yeah, and was Vancouver a conscious choice? And if so, what were the reasons versus, most people go to Toronto because it's a
Correct.
bigger city.
Correct. In our case, because we have my uncle was in California at the time, so we just
Yeah.
wanted to be in the same time zone as him. So
Yeah.
hence we chose the West Coast. That was one of the bigger motivations to come here. And then moving from Africa, a lot of people know it's because you grew up in tropical weather. So it's throughout tropical weather. So I think Vancouver is a slightly a softer landing than harsher climates. Not that I'm saying
Yeah.
people can't adjust in other cities.
Yeah.
I'm sure they
Yeah.
can. But Vancouver was a little bit more for us, that type of soft landing, just also because of the weather.
Right.
So
That
that's,
makes sense. The weather was a big factor for us as well.
yeah,
And we were moving for quality of life. So Vancouver ranks consistently in
correct.
the top as far as that goes.
Correct.
For me, Toronto would have been just another Bombay.
Correct.
And that was attractive to my wife Prachi. For me, I was kind of hoping to slow down the pace a little bit. And Vancouver does have a slower pace of life. A few weeks ago, I had Juhi Sinha as a guest.
Yeah.
And she's a person, I'm sure you know her, very outdoorsy. And the quality of life focus in Vancouver is phenomenal.
Yeah. It gives you what you ask for. The front yard is the city, the downtown, the skyscrapers and the skyline.
Yeah.
And the backyard is your nice, your hikes,
Ski
and your
slopes.
oceans
Yeah.
and all of that. So that's how I describe Vancouver.
I don't think there are any or very few places in the world where you can ski and kayak on the same day
Exactly.
and still be within 20 minutes of a global, multicultural, well-connected
Correct.
city where you get all the material things of life.
Correct.
It's a very, very unique combination.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about what got your dad into the financial advisory business. So, I'm guessing you had a few of these seemingly unconnected roles. So, what prompted you to do it? And was there a higher purpose behind it that guided you, like wanting to benefit society or impact society through financial education? Or was it just more you fell into it?
It's a great question. And I think in our case as a family, we used to actually, even on weekdays and weekends, as my parents were working, we used to always research businesses. We would go and meet people that would own even franchises and gas stations and different businesses. And we would go and talk to them and just try to understand what it takes to run a business. Because one thing that I always, even now, I'm really appreciative of is anything you want to pursue, go interview somebody who's been doing it for 10, 15 years at least, and see what kind of lifestyle they have, what kind of challenges they face. And for us, because we came to Canada for a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
That was a big thing before we decided to jump into any business. So we were really looking into options. And when you have not much capital to begin with, right?
Yeah.
The service sector kind of seems to become more
makes sense.
attractive because you're new, you're very much open to learning.
Yeah.
And when we got introduced into the business, we are in financial education. First, we looked at it as education for ourselves. When you're an entrepreneur or a business person, or even if you have a good job, you're always dependent on financial professionals to do all your work for you, from
Sure.
the accounts and taxes and all that. So for us, it was initially a learning experience. And then
Right.
within the learning experience, Aditya, we found a higher calling where we felt that if we don't know this, imagine how many other people that are moving here
Sure.
that are in a lot more pressure than we are, what would be the chances that they know this?
Yeah.
And that's how we took this information and eventually turned it into a business. And we all kind of, just as a family, supported each other to begin with, kept our focus on to at least building the initial foundation and
Yeah.
then move from there to the next levels.
Got it. On that note, let's take a short break. When we return, we will talk about how Sam got into what he does now and go from there. So stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
All families are different, and some have parents or children with little to no eyesight. But this doesn't stop them from sharing the work, play, love, and laughter of family life. Eyesight doesn't define a parent, a child, or a family. what counts is being together. Want to learn more? Visit us on the web at blind.org. The National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
Are you ready to discover remarkable stories of resilience and cultural connection? This is Diaspora, a show sharing the journeys of first-generation immigrants from the Indian subcontinent now building their lives in North America. Inspiring, insightful, and always engaging, Diaspora offers a unique perspective on the immigrant experience. Join me, Aditya Mehta, my guests on the Diaspora show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. right here on KKNW.
Working hard to put a smile on your face. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Diaspora on KKNW, where we share interesting stories of first-generation immigrants from the Indian subcontinent. We are talking to Sam Bhatnagar, entrepreneur, financial expert, and my good friend. So let's talk about your current business. Tell me more about how easy or hard it was to grow it once you started into it, because I believe you have a team of more than 100 advisors working for you now.
Yeah.
And it took about 15 years to get there, or maybe more.
Yeah.
So how did you go about scaling that, and how easy or hard was it?
So in our case, Aditya, when we got involved in the industry that we are in, this was all foreign language, foreign world for us. It was something that we began from scratch, to be honest. But at the same time, inside us, there was a couple of reasons that allowed us to break through when things became limitations for us. And I think the first reason was we just wanted to settle into Canada and have a foundation where we can, the kind of background we left, the kind of lifestyle we left, we wanted to match that here. So that was one of the first reasons. And then second thing is, as we started to meet with families and people and lots of folks, we started to see a lot of common challenges we are all facing, right? The same challenges like we're paying a ton of taxes, we don't know how to save better, we just don't know what are options where we can have strategic wealth grown for families and things like that. So these became very common questions that we started to figure. And as we found answers to these questions, we felt we should take this at a larger scale. Now, everybody doesn't take it at the scale the way we do, but our vision was, if we have a solution to something, can we take this and help others with it? That was the foundation thought for us. And then initially we faced challenges. Absolutely. Any family that moves here without any capital, without any backing, without any support from that matter, you face challenges. But the fact that kind of kept us going was, number one, the family. Right? The family structure was something that when one would be down, the other one would lift each other up and that type of thing. And number two was, we had understood we need something with a system. If we can find a business process that we can replicate a few times, even
and scale it.
And so the scaling will come once the repetition starts. And once we figured out, okay, this is how we can repeat this process. So we started scaling like that, because I have this thing about a system. I say the word system, when you spell it, it should stay for save yourself time, effort, and money.
That's a good one. I mean, you guys are a known name in the financial services sector in Vancouver, and I can speak to that reputation as well. Having worked with you and having sent, friends to get help by you, there's never been anything negative. I've heard it. And I really do agree that the reputation becomes a catalyst then, and the system is what facilitates all of that. So that's pretty good. If there were a new immigrant coming today to Canada, what would be like maybe the top 3 things you would advise them to do from a financial perspective to do all the things that you mentioned?
So first, I would suggest is, especially in today's day and age, don't immediately jump into education / businesses / things that look very fancy today. Okay. And then get stuck there, if that makes any sense. So don't immediately just jump into it. Do a little bit of research. Okay. Research is not done by knowing it all. Research is done by asking some questions. Go meet some of the people that maybe have been in that profession a little bit longer. Perhaps tune into Diaspora podcasts and listen to some of the speakers. They're sharing their life and experience with you. That would be my first advice, that don't immediately jump.
Yeah.
Take a chance, research it a little bit, but at the same time, don't wait too long. If you feel like
Yeah.
you found something that piques your interest, the only way to learn it is by doing it. That's number
Yeah.
one. Number two, as a new immigrant, I would suggest at this point of time, this is a great opportunity to explore even asset purchasing. But to get to that level, you've got to understand financial planning. And the
Sure.
financial planning begins with the process of financial education and financial information. That is the number two piece of advice. And number three, in North America, you got to understand, or you got to have a skill that's got a high income potential.
Sure.
Start looking into that. Only because we were academically trained, maybe in the countries we come from, in a particular field, does not
Yeah.
mean you cannot explore new opportunities here.
Yeah.
You absolutely can. So please keep an open mind. Don't bring
Yeah.
the same fears and phobias. Yes, let them be your guiding force, but don't bring
Yeah.
that same thing to limit your growth in this country, because you never know, right? You could be from a different background and a
Yeah.
completely different sector here can take off for you.
So to follow up on those 3 points, one is, doing research. There's a term called, like Vancouver is a very clicky city. It's very closed city. Did you find in your early days that if you did this outreach and met someone who'd been doing those things for a longer time, were people generally open to helping and sharing, or were they pretty closed, as the stereotype suggests?
Initially, when we moved here, I could see some. It took a while for people to open up. Let's put it this way,
Yeah.
because a lot of people had been burnt in the past. A lot
Okay.
of people had bad experiences, they had negative experiences, and I can understand that, right? It would make any person second guess even the decision that comes to their
Yeah.
gut, right?
Yeah.
But over a period of time, I think time and again, there are always in industries come people that prove that, hey, this does work or the system
Yeah.
does operate. And maybe 15, 20 years ago, what was floating around ain't the same type of information that's floating around today. If an
Yeah.
iPhone can have an update, imagine 20 years later, every
Yeah.
process can have an update. So I think
Of
people
course.
are now a little bit more open, Adi. Back in the day, I could understand the reservations, but that's where I feel like information, education is the key. And a
Yeah.
lot of good follow up would allow us to just perhaps the decisions we make back them up with facts and data.
Yeah. I think I've said this on my show before, is that many new immigrants miss that the onus of reaching out and asking for help is on them and not on the people who already live there.
Correct.
Because when we were living in India, fourth generation Gujarati in Bombay,
Mhm.
I'm not reaching out to new immigrants saying, "Hello, new immigrant, let me help you."
Right.
Right? No, nobody ever does that. But
Yeah.
if someone comes to me and says, "I'm new, I'm looking for this guidance," I'm more inclined to go and help them. So
Correct.
we found that when we did that, people were very open to helping,
Yeah.
because we took the onus on us
Correct.
and always started with giving versus
Correct.
receiving,
Yeah.
saying, how can I help you with my unique perspective?
Correct.
And I think 95% of people would respond and help out and agree to a meeting,
Yeah.
and go from there.
That is amazing what you said. Sorry to cut you, but I really
Yeah.
like what you said there, where you yourself offered something first. How can we today sit with you and help you?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's amazing, because I have this philosophy, it's always a give and take, and
Yeah.
giving will always be less. So don't be shy when you give.
Yeah. There's many sayings, right? The more you give, the more you receive. So the other thing I wanted to ask you about, based on what you said, is, do you find that on the point of, being more academically inclined, do you find that today the new immigrants that are coming from, especially from South Asia,
Mhm.
they're used to this hyper competitive nature that India is, because there's just so many people and so much competition.
Right.
Do you feel they bring that with them? And if so, does it help or hurt their success in Canada?
That's a very interesting perspective, because it can work both ways. So let's talk about it helping first, because I
Yeah.
think that will be on a positive note. It would definitely help because it will allow you being curious, and you would push yourselves in comparison to what a person born and raised here would not push themselves, limitations wise. You'd figure out new boundaries, new limitations, and that's excellent and phenomenal. But
And
at the
generally, you have more to lose moved
Correct,
all.
exactly. And that's why you have that zeal and that power to wake up from failure to failure without losing the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And that's excellent. I think that's a phenomenal drive to have. But at the same time, some of the drive can burn the whole experience too, because sometimes a lot of people come with misconceptions and are not very privy to listening. They don't take the time to sit with somebody, or they just have so much already to say that
Yeah.
there could be blind spots that somebody maybe more experienced can help them find. But because they are so, they know it all, and that sometimes can be a challenge, because today
Yeah.
everybody's internet savvy and everybody's looking at blogs and reviews and all of
Sure.
stuff, right? But what works for one does not work for others. So it's a hit and miss, is my
Sure.
thing.
You're Punjabi and there's a massive Punjabi community in Surrey.
Mhm.
But I know you have a really diverse network and not just Punjabis or other Indians. How do you balance, having your Punjabi exposure, but also having this? Because it's easy to fall into only hanging out with people who are like you and from where you are for that shared experience and for that comfort. What advice would you give to new immigrants to like break out of it and experience Canada and
Yeah.
not just the mini Punjab that is formed there?
Yeah.
So how do you do that, and how do you balance it, and what advice would you give others?
To be honest with you, as you very rightly said, Canada is a multicultural, multi-diverse nation. As a matter of fact, this would be the country to explore other cultures in. I have never been to Gujarat, but I speak Gujarati because I grew up in Kenya. So I had the opportunity of learning that language, with it's a language, it helps. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like in Canada, you would be doing yourself grave injustice by just sticking to a particular community only. You have to understand there are some universal laws that apply in all human beings. All human beings are creatures of God. Okay. And maybe they have a solution that might work in your situation.
Yeah.
So I always tell people that please always expand your horizon, make friends in all communities. You and I, we both have sons, right? And I want them to have friends from all backgrounds, all communities. I would want them to be exposed a lot more, because you can only take the good, leave the bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And the best way to do this is, if you're a foodie, start exploring food from all cultures. I'm a foodie. When I had an office in downtown Vancouver, I used to try every different cuisine. And now I'm very happy to know that there are some cuisines I love and some maybe not as much, but at least I have tried them.
So on that note, I throw everything at Arjun. Not physically throw. I take him to baseball games, but we also watch
You're
IPL
awesome
cricket.
like that, for sure.
So you'll be disappointed to know that he's a Kraken fan and not a Canucks fan. He always roots for the Kraken when they play the Canucks, and I find that I'm like, you're born in Vancouver, so you should be supporting Canucks. But he's spent as much time here as he spent in Vancouver now, so I can't blame him for that. I definitely agree. If you're gonna only spend time with people who are exactly like you, then you could have just stayed back wherever you're coming from, right? So
Exactly.
you are a true family business in the sense that your parents both are in it, and you and your brother and your spouses are in it. How do you manage that? Because you guys are a very tight-knit family, as you say, and I can see it. Does everybody just get along at work? Because I worked in family business, and I know it can be strained at times. So how do you manage those kinds of conflicts, if at all they arise?
It's a great question. And to be honest with you, that's where it all comes down to creating boundaries, right? Which we have learned over time. I'm not saying initially, was it the perfect / best experience? Not really, let's put it this way. But as and when you start to realize that you have common goals, you have common objectives, and you're in the hustle together, if that makes any sense, you find this mutual respect for each other. I think it begins from there. It may be at different levels. And then over a period of time, healthy boundaries should be created. Okay, and can be created. And I think that's where we're still figuring it out. But it's a blessing for me to know that I get a chance to see my parents on a daily basis, right? Because we work in the same offices. And at the same time, with my family, I have my space as well. Right? And we get to do the things that we are passionate about. So over a period of time, instead of having the cultural challenge when it comes to working together. Start looking at how can we make this a common objective, and at the same time everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses, and how
Yeah.
can I highlight those strengths more and
Yeah.
maybe not focus much on their weaknesses, and how can I be the best I can with the strengths I have for them.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Some families pull it off great, some families not so much. And you're right, it's about boundaries. It's maybe managing different parts of the business and not having overlap there,
Yeah,
or having ground rules as to what decisions are taken in which way.
correct.
All those things go a long way.
Yeah.
We would have like a family annual review of
Mhm.
sorts as
Excellent.
to where we are with our individual goals
Yeah.
from the business and personally,
Yeah.
how we can support each other through that goals that we have set. So it was almost like a board meeting. And
Yeah.
we did that for several years, and it was very helpful.
Yeah.
Because if now let's say my family knows that I have a whole bunch of travel coming up this year for
Yeah.
work, then they will make sure that they take that into consideration when planning their life,
Correct.
and to support my goal of whatever I'm doing.
Correct. And just to add, like I've met your parents and I've seen both uncle and auntie, and I've never had a chance to meet Akash, but I'm assuming the way you guys operate, it's really inspiring as well. Having in today's day and age, even talking to parents about having an open mind and just
Yeah.
open communication, it really helps change perspectives, to be honest. So, really
Yeah.
inspired by your family too, really.
I appreciate that. When I was newly married, and as with many families in India, we stay at home with the parents. We have a big house. And one of the first observations Prachi, my wife, had, it's like, you guys are so corporate as a family. Like, even at home, you operate like very corporately. So I said, I don't know what that means because I don't have any basis for comparison. But if that's your observation, start treating everyone else like your coworker at home and you'll get along fine with everyone. So it took a little bit of time for her to kind of get used to that. And now, in retrospect, I do feel
And
that's
she's a
not
great
normal.
person too. Great.
Yeah. Yeah, she's very adaptable. She followed me here, right? Like, it was primarily me who wanted to move to Vancouver, as you know.
Yes.
And, it takes a lot of faith in your partner to just follow them to a different part of the world when you are very happy where you are. She had a great job.
Yeah.
It was a great quality of life. Our extended families are in Bombay on both sides.
Yeah.
We could probably fill a 300-person room with a family gathering, right? So coming up from that is testament to how adaptable she is.
Definitely.
So let's take a break here. And when we come back, we will talk about some more lighter topics to end the show. So we'll be right back after these messages.
We see the urgent threat of climate change every day. Tornadoes in Texas, droughts in Europe, typhoons in the Philippines. But what don't we see? How the climate crisis hits vulnerable people the hardest, women and girls. That's why CARE helps the world's most marginalized people build resiliency and fight for a more just and sustainable world. You can help. Learn more at care.org/climate.
Hello, I'm Chris Erdman. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs, creative minds, and game changers to uncover the real stories behind their business. On my show, Made of More, we explore the challenges that they've overcome, the breakthroughs that they've celebrated, and the mindset that drives them forward. If you're ready to unlock your full entrepreneurial potential, Made of More is the show for you, because here we know you are made of more. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW.
Get inspired every hour right here on Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back. We are on KKNW. This is Diaspora, and we are talking to Sam Bhatnagar. He's a family business tycoon based in Vancouver and also a new parent. So I want to use this section to talk about some of the lighter things. So how are you enjoying parenthood?
It's a blessing. It's like my earth has changed as soon as my son was born.
Yeah.
Every step I'm taking, the vibration just feels different. And that's
Yeah.
just my personal opinion. And
Yeah.
some days we struggle, some days are better than others, and some days are
Sure.
just the best. But
Yeah.
in between all of that, just looking at him, just everything for me personally.
Yeah. I want to use this opportunity to talk about the Canadian health system.
Mhm.
We hear stories of it being overburdened with so many new people moving to Canada. And so how was your overall experience with that whole, the pregnancy process, the delivery process?
Because we delivered at Peace Arch Hospital in White Rock, we had a decent experience. There was a few challenges here and there,
Yeah.
but nothing that I would say against the system. We're very blessed
Yeah.
to be living in a great country.
Yeah.
And it's just for everybody, their experience is different. So we're blessed, and our son's healthy. My wife's doing good. And just, if anything, my suggestion is just we all do the best research we can, but just
Yeah.
some things are by the law of God and nature, and sometimes you just have to roll with the punches.
Yeah. My assessment was that if it's something urgent, like a delivery,
Yeah,
a bad car accident,
yeah,
the system springs into action and
Yeah.
you'll get right in and you'll get operated on and whatever you need.
right.
It's where it's less serious,
Yes,
or where there's a disagreement between you and the doctor whether it's serious or not,
Right.
is where the wait times become really long.
Correct.
And I mean, Indian people, we have home remedies for almost everything. So for me, that didn't really bother so much. So it's like, oh, we had a bad cut. We are not going to the ER. We're putting some turmeric on it and it'll be fine.
All right.
So as a result, we didn't have to access those kinds of things
Right.
and therefore not face those kinds of wait times. But I've had friends with some bad stories. I wish all these immigrants coming in, there's so many doctors and nurses from other countries.
Yeah.
They could always work out some sort of certification program and instantly increase the supply of all of those, right?
Correct.
But it does hurt here when I look at the insurance premium I pay every month. It's, versus just showing your driver's license and getting the help that you need.
Right.
So Arjun was born in St. Paul's in downtown Vancouver.
Right.
And we had a great experience
Yes,
there.
yeah.
And I maybe got lucky and whatever, like you said, maybe the stars aligned, but we had a excellent experience there. So I've personally not had to deal with the horror stories of the overburdened health system,
Yeah.
but that's an ongoing debate as that works or
For
not.
newborns, and just if there's one message I'd give, if there is pediatrics in a particular hospital, that should be more of a preference if it's a possibility and distance is
Yeah.
not too much. Right?
Yeah.
Anywhere where there's a pediatric ward / unit / operation system, that should be
Yeah.
excellent. But regardlessly, every hospital is great here, and we're very blessed to have
Yeah.
the system that we do.
Since these are my early episodes, I'm also trying to get my listeners to know me better. So I asked this question to some of my guests. What was your first impression of me, or your first few interactions that we had? What was your impression of me?
So I met Aditya and Prachi at the Chamber of Commerce event in North Vancouver, and he's right. I was actually about to open up an office, which I did open, and then eventually that office took off, and I had an opportunity to come back and settle in where I am. And then COVID happened, but initially when I met Aditya and Prachi, my first impression of them was they were very humble and very friendly. As soon as I started to talk to them, especially with Aditya, I felt like I'd known him for years. This was my first impression. And then with Prachi, I also get the same feeling because she feels like a friend we've all had. And that's there. And the two of them, when we had a chance, my wife and I, to meet them multiple times, it just felt like family. Like I call Aditya big brother in the language that we speak.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is because I feel very connected to him in a lot of different ways, with even our backgrounds and just the way he just addresses himself. And then over a period of time, my level of respect for you has just gone up because I've seen you make decisions which people would not make for years. And they would stay stuck in the same position. And kudos to you and Prachi for hand in hand doing such amazing work and really making a difference with whatever time you have, right? Even as a family. So I really have enjoyed my interaction with you, Aditya. I know I've learned a lot of things from you and the family. I really wish a lot of more people to, I know my son, I'd love for him to hang out with you and Arjun and Prachi a lot more.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much for those kind words. When we came to Vancouver, since we were starting from scratch, we wanted to meet as many people as possible and then really stick to the ones that we like out of those people. And it was that kind of interaction with you guys, especially. I remember the barbecues that we used to do, the big ones. And within a year and a half of moving there, and the common question I would get is that you're a new immigrant. How do you have 60 people in your barbecue. And I'm like, oh, these are just the ones I like. I know even more, but that's because we are actively
Yeah.
just out there meeting new people. And everyone's not going to be your friend. Everyone's not going to gel well with you or become business contact or whatever. But it doesn't hurt to keep meeting new people regularly. And in Vancouver, it was not a diaspora we were used to. Like in the US, you're used to people who came for their education and then lived here for 15, 20 years. Here you have blue collar workers, you have food service workers, you have CPAs. It's a very big mix of the type of Indian. You have people who moved from the US. So for us, that also took a while to get used to and find kind of our water level, so to speak, as to who we would get along best with. But then we realized it's not people from a certain language group or a part of India. It's just the people with the abundance mindset.
Correct.
And that, I think, really helped us get going very quickly in Canada.
Yeah.
I'll share a short anecdote. I knew these two couples who moved from Bombay. Husband was in finance, wife was in marketing. Like almost carbon copies of each other, similar age group. And one decided to stay in downtown. One decided to stay in Abbotsford because it was cheap. The ones in downtown said, well, this is $500 more than what we can afford, but we know the benefits of living in downtown where there's so much happening, so many events, networking, so many different types of people. Let's figure out how to scrape together the extra 500. Whereas the other group said, no, this is our budget. We'll stay wherever we have to. But then they would not come for on any of these networking events or anything because it was so far. And the downtown couple really flourished. And the Abbotsford couple eventually went back to India because they were like, there's nothing here for us, got disillusioned. I was like, but you haven't landed in Canada. You've landed in a mini version of where you came from. And the couple who's in downtown is doing exceedingly well because they had the abundance mindset and they said, we're not going to be constrained. We're going to do what we need to do and then figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah.
And that was the common trait for all the friends I have there and you know who I keep in touch with even now.
They took that first initiation. They took that first step and they kept on growing. So it's so well said what you just mentioned here. It's all with intention.
Yeah.
And whatever cards you're dealt with, those are the cards, that's the hand you have to play.
And it's not a one-time burst of networking or whatever you do.
Correct.
I like to call it sustainable consistency. So
Nice. But
do what you know you can do every single day.
correct.
So if I'm learning Spanish, my goal is 5 minutes a day, half an hour a day. So
Yeah.
what it does is the days I feel like doing it, I'm almost always going to do more than 5 minutes.
Correct.
But the days I don't feel like doing it, because the goal is so small, it helps me maintain the consistency.
It's a book you gave me many years ago, Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. Yeah. I've given that book to probably 30 people by now.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite books. Is there anything you feel in your life that is missing? Because I know you're an extremely grateful person and you're always treating what you have as a blessing, even if you've really worked hard for it. So is there anything in your life that's missing in Canada as a person who's come there and spent a long time there that you wish Canada would have?
Good leadership on politics. So if you were to ask me from a personal perspective, I feel like Canada needs to, like, we are very grateful indeed. And right now, we just need to be in a nation building journey, right? And nation building starts with internal building because we are the reflection, the external world is a reflection of the internal world.
Yeah.
And what I personally think I need to work on a lot more is the internal world. It's building myself internally because I believe we're all kept on this earth with a goal, with a purpose, and with a vision or a mission. But at the same time, we don't have to be hard on ourselves if we don't know what that is, right? I have a really good mentor I heard from many years ago in a conference, and he said something to me that has stuck to me till today. He's like, you don't have to be the guy that finds the cure to cancer, but maybe something you do in your daily life could inspire the guy that could find the cure to cancer. Okay. And both of them can be instruments, right? So that's what I would like to do a lot more of, reflection on the internal world.
Yeah.
So that I could be show up as my best version out there, if that makes sense.
Yep, for what it's worth, I think you've been doing that since the time I've known you. So let's move on to our weekly segments now. So can we please have the wheel? So this segment is called Lost in Translation. So when you were new, were there any funny instances or mix-ups due to cultural differences or language differences in your school or in your professional life?
I think my whole life has been that, right? Because when you move from one country to another country, there's
Yeah,
certain words that are pronounced differently,
yeah,
right? And they mean a completely different thing.
yeah,
So I think if I was to round it all up, there would be so many.
yeah,
Okay, but a very interesting one that comes to my mind at this time, off the top of my head, is I think for the very first time when I heard the word A, that's
yeah,
EH, which is a connecting word, I kind of got a little stumbled thinking, is he asking me a question? Just anything like, is this your order A? And that's a connecting word because he finished it with a
yeah,
sentence. It seems like it is. So
yeah,
for me, that the initial A when I moved to Canada was a little bit interesting to understand. And then later, as you interact with a lot of Canadians, you start to figure out that it's
yeah.
just a connecting word. They use it even as a question mark. They use it in multiple things.
Yeah, so I picked up that word really quickly in my vocabulary
Okay.
to the point. And you know how Indian people are, we talk in multiple languages in
Yeah.
a sentence.
Yeah.
And so if it's a sentence which has English and Gujarati,
Yeah.
it would have A because it's
Yeah.
got English in it. So
Also,
my wife is like, how did you manage to integrate A into Gujarati and Hindi? And she's like, I never understand that. I'm like, I don't know, it just happens now. Like I took it up very quickly. We have time for one more of these segments, so let's spin the wheel again. So this one is called Sounds and Smells. Do you have any sounds or smells, good or bad, that instantly remind you of Kenya, as that's where you grew up?
I think for me would probably be smell, right? So I smell like when it rains in a forest. If I
Yeah,
smell the wood and
yeah,
a little bit of, I guess, a mixture of wood and forest and nature, it
yeah,
really allows me to connect back from where I came from in Kenya, right?
yeah,
Because it's a country with amazing vegetation, right?
yeah,
And then if you have an opportunity, you can feel like you're in nature at the time. And
yeah,
for sound, I think like waves, because I
yeah,
grew up in a lakeshore town. So for
yeah.
me, I
Lake Victoria,
Lake
is it?
Victoria,
Yeah,
correct. So when I would see the sunset and the sunrise from the lake, I could keep on looking at the lake for hours, and here too, I could look at the ocean for hours and hours, and that's my goal eventually.
yeah.
When I get a chance, that's where I kind of want to be, where I can see the ocean for hours and hours.
I
Phenomenal.
don't know if I've told you this, but I went to Kenya and Tanzania when I was 3 years old in
Okay.
1989.
Oh my,
I still have distinct memories of being on a hot air balloon
yeah,
in the Masai Mara and seeing Mount Kilimanjaro.
yes.
And I mean, if I say this about many places on the show, but like going to an African safari is one of the things you have to do once in your lifetime. Kenya or South Africa or wherever you go, but it is something else.
It's a bucket list thing, and
Yeah.
you will not be the same when you come out of that experience. I can assure you.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you for listening to Diaspora. We hope you enjoyed hearing Sam's inspiring and awesome story. Remember to check out our show notes for links and more information about the topics we discussed in today's episode. You can find Diaspora on all major podcast platforms and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And if you like this episode, consider following us on Instagram or leaving us a 5-star review. Diaspora is part of the Staying Powered network of shows and podcasts, all of which are dedicated to inspiring listeners to build lives of meaning, connection, and value. You can find the Staying Powered network of shows wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back next week with another interesting story from the South Asian diaspora. Until then, take care and stay curious. And Sam, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Aditya, for having me.